Belief in oneself is often treated as an emotional state, something one either possesses or lacks, as though it were an inherent trait. But this framing is misleading, I believe, because what we call self belief is not a spontaneous feeling, it is a conclusion the mind arrives at after evaluating patterns of behavior over time. In other words, you do not believe in yourself because you decide to. You believe in yourself because you have evidence, and this distinction is critical. Most people attempt to build self belief through affirmation, by repeating statements, visualizing outcomes, or attempting to override doubts through force of thought. But the mind is not easily persuaded by assertion alone, it is persuaded by consistency. And if your actions are inconsistent and your effort intermittent and your commitment frequently abandoned, then doubt is not irrational. Doubt is logical. It is a mind responding accurately to a pattern of unreliability. So, the objective is not to eliminate doubt directly, it is to alter the pattern that produces doubt. Self belief, in this sense, is not something you create in isolation. It is something you accumulate through repeated instances of alignment between intention and action. Each time you decide to do something, you must follow through. And when you follow through, you produce a small unit of evidence. Individually, these instances appear insignificant, but collectively they form a pattern, and the mind recognizes patterns. And over time, it updates the internal model of who you are, not based on what you say, but based on what you've done repeatedly. And this is why discipline plays a central role in self belief, because discipline ensures continuity, it reduces the gap between intention and execution. And as that gap narrows, self trust begins to form, not as a feeling, but as a recognition, and a recognition that your behavior is reliable, that you can act even when the conditions are not ideal, and that your actions are not contingent on mood. And once that recognition stabilizes, belief follows. It is important for you to note that this process is gradual. There is no singular moment at which belief fully appears, but instead, there is a shift in probability, a point at which the mind begins to expect follow through rather than anticipate failure. And this expectation alters your behavior. You begin to take on tasks you would have previously avoided. You become less hesitant, not because uncertainty has disappeared, but because your response to it has changed. You have evidence that you can now engage despite it. This is the foundation of self belief, not certainty, but trust in your capacity to act, which is fundamentally different. Because certainty requires control over outcomes, but trust requires only control over behavior, and behavior is within your control. So, to believe in yourself is not to assume success. It is to recognize that regardless of outcome, you will continue to act. And when this becomes your baseline, belief is no longer something you seek, it is something that emerges.